Today's topic is man, God, and civilization. We all know what a man is. A man or a woman is a so-called Homo sapien or humanoid on this third dimensional plane. We also know that civilization is the act of one being civil, in accord and with appreciation for arts, languages, and culture. Now, what is a god? A god can be a extraterrestrial being whose knowledge and wisdom surpasses many civilizations and its denizens. Or a god can be something that is worshiped or adored. Now, here's where I'm going with this. One of the traps that many people will fall into in magic and the occult is adoration of the self. See, I hear I'm a god or I'm a goddess. Everyone's a god or a goddess until you have to put the work in. You want to know when you really become a god or a goddess? You become a god and a goddess when you can stand up to any form of adversity and trial and tribulation. That's what makes a god. A god is not all the knowledge that you procured through your grimoires and your books. Also, a god is someone that is a expert at working with the shadow. Every time I hear people talk about being a god or a goddess or an adept in magic, you have to do shadow work. And this is something that's going to happen, and you're going to have to indulge in this practice for as long as you're here. Yes, doing the work is important. You should do the work every day. Every day you should do the work. And part of that work is self-reflection, analysis, and shadow work. You know, the unpleasant parts of your personality, the traumas, the things that you thought that you were over because you moved in this particular house and you got this particular car. You even got the relationship you wanted. The sex is good, your friends and all that. But yet, that shadow's in the background. He's watching everything, or she's watching everything. And they know. And deep down, you may tell your own self this. I'm going to do something that's going to screw this up. Somewhere, I'm going to do something that's going to completely screw this up. So, what's one of the ways that you can work on your shadow? Well, if you keep a book of shadows, notice the term, shadows. I want the family listening to this and any individual this resonates with. If you were ever molested, if you were ever assaulted, when you went to a party, you thought somebody was a friend and they assaulted you, or even you felt that your mother always loved one child more than they loved you, or understood that child better than you do. Because we always have parents that with you, you can never do enough. And then this child is, if you look in the dictionary, screw up, their picture will be right next to the word. And it's irrespective if it's verb or noun, their picture will be right there. And yet the mother or the father just keeps giving them money, helps them with their rent and doing this. And then when it comes to you, your mother father like, well, what are you working for? What are you doing with all your money? And you're just like, and this resentment, and we all have it. I've had resentment towards family members myself. And I'm saying this, and you have to say, irrespective of the magic and the metaphysical concepts and everything that I learned when I embraced my heritage and was proud of my culture, at the end of the day, I had to understand I am aspiring to be a God, which means I am a God in training. That's what you are. You're a God in training. Everybody wants to be a God until you're tested, and you got to do God things. And you just ain't got to do God things every now and again. You got to show and prove the majority of the time. And the number one way that even spirits who work in your favor, they will let tribulation come your way just to see your mettle, just to see what you're made out of, and if you'll fold. And let me say this. If you ever want to rise in your training and your ascension to become that God, a wonderful, wonderful spirit guide to have is your grandmother or your grandfather. Because for those who know what I'm about to say, you can't help but deny the kernel of truth that will escape my lips. When your grandparents were around, they had saw so much. They seen the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, the women's movement, the gay and transgender movement. They seen it all. They seen jobs come, they seen jobs go, just like presidents in recessions, and they also seen how your mother, your father came up, your uncles, your aunts, and even you. And they always were the bulwark. They were the glue that held a family together. And they understood you, no matter how much you may have disappointed them or let them down, they always was there for you. Grandparents, whether it be your grandmother or your grandfather, those are the most wonderful spirit guides that you can call upon that will help you in your training to become a god or a goddess. Here's a quick tip. If you ever want messages, be open to them. But the whole key, take an heirloom of theirs. I don't care if it was their favorite necklace or ring. In the case of my grandmother was an Eastern Star. And I took her journal one time, and she came that night rapping on the door. And I was at a low point. I was a very young person, very young then, and I didn't really know exactly what I was doing in life. In your most critical moments, your spirit guides, especially if they are family, they will reach out and they will come to you. You have to be open to receive the messages. So get you a journal, write down your traumas, your fears, everything, as well as just spells and work. Remember, you're a God in training. You know you're a man and you know you're a woman. And you're aspiring and working towards becoming so much more. And it's okay to have that trauma. It's not okay if you want to use material possessions or certain occult practices to cover it up. So again, take an heirloom of a grandparent, or even if it's an aunt that was the glue of the family, or an uncle that no matter what, you knew you could always go to them. Their door was always open, as well as their heart. So with that, like I said, get an heirloom of theirs, even their favorite color. Go to the Botanica and get a candle. If their favorite color was burgundy, they have burgundy candles. Get that. So the true God is going to work on the negative aspect. Just like you'll have the Ra that you are aspiring and becoming, there's also that Set and Apep in you as well. So with that, that is your meat and potato sorcery for the day. I'm the Water Alchemist.